ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਸੇ ਆਏਗਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਦੇਖ ਲਾਂਗੇ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਐਸੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਲਿਓ ਆਪਣੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਟਫ ਹੋਵੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਦੱਸਾਂਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਰ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਚਲੋ ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਹੈਗਾ ਵਾ 50% ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ 50% ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ 50% ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ 75% ਹੈਗਾ ਏਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਅੱਛਾ ਜੂਸ ਲੈਣਾ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਲਾਈਨਸ ਅਲੱਗ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਹਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੇਮ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀਬੋਰਡ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਮਾਊਸ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ एग्जाम ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਮਸਲਾ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਮਾਈਕ੍ਰੋਫੋਨ ਆਪਾਂ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਦੀ ਆਪਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਤੇ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਬੋਲੋਗੇ 4-5 ਲੈਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਬੋਲ ਦੋਗੇ this image shows information about है ना I can बोला
This image shows information about this image shows information about
लेने की बात
हाँ जी सर ओके
राइट कहता मैं एक्सेप्टेबल है ठीक है ठीक इज फाइन पहले पर्सन इंट्रोडक्शन आंदी होगी है ना स्टार्ट टेस्ट हो गया इंट्रोडक्शन देंगे फिर नेक्स्ट रीड आउट आ जाएगा
My name is Parinajpreet Kaur. I want to study abroad for pursue my higher studies. Sir, zoom नहीं होता. This book is not ordinary book. हाँ जी. This book is not ordinary book and should not be read through from beginning to end. It contains many different adventures and the path you take will be determined by the choices you make along the way. The success or failure of your mission hinges on decisions you make. So think carefully. This book is no ordinary book and should not be read through from beginning to end. It contains many different adventures and the path you take will be determined by the choices you make along the way. The success or failure of your mission hinges on decisions you make, so think carefully before choosing. A level of competence in chemistry is essential to the professional practice of material conversation, and understanding of scientific concepts and the basic scientific vocabulary enables the conservator to understand conservation problems, treatments, material and techniques in a systematic and quantifiable quantifiable way which can be communicated not only to colleagues in the profession but also those from other disciplines. A level of competence in chemistry is essential to the professional practice of material conversation. An understanding of scientific concepts and a basic scientific vocabulary enables that conservator to understand and techniques in a systematic and way which can be communicated not only colleagues in the profession but also those from other disciplines. Two sisters were at a dinner party with the conversation turned to upbringing. The elder sister started to say that her parents had been very strict and that she had been rather frightened of them. Her sister, younger by 2 years, interrupted in amazement. Amazement. What are you talking about? She said. Our parents were very lenient. Two sisters were at a dinner party when the conversation turned to upbringing. The elder sister started to say that her parents had been very strict and that she had been rather frightened of them. Her sister, younger by 2 years, interrupted in amazement. What are you talking about? She said. Our parents were very lenient. Children as young as 14 months old will spontaneously help others for no reward. But a study of 3 to 5 years old found that although they found spontaneously draw pictures if they were given a reward for drawing pictures, that later they wouldn't make any drawings unless reward was offered. Spontaneously. Children as young as 14 months old will spontaneously. Children as young as 14 months old will spontaneously help others for no reward, but a study of 3 to 5 years olds found that although they would spontaneously draw pictures if they were given a reward for drawing pictures, then later they wouldn't make any drawings unless a reward was offered. Orientalist, Orientalist, like many other early 19th century thinkers, conceive of humanity either in large collective terms or in abstract generalities. Orientalists are neither interested in or capable of discussing individuals, instead, artificial entitles predominate. They herd beneath very wide labels every possible variety of human plurality, plurality, reducing it in the process. Orientalists, like many other early 19th century thinkers, conceive of humanity either in large collective terms or in abstract generalists. Orientalists are neither interested in nor capable of discussing individuals interested. Artificial entitles predominant. They hide beneath very wide labels, every possible variety of human plurality, reducing it in the process to collective abstractions. As we progress into the 21st century, communications have become faster and faster. Think of the millions of different media images you are bombarded, bombarded with every day. It's as important now to be able to read and make sense of those images as it has been to be able to read ordinary text. Bombarded. As we progress into the 21st century, communications are becoming faster and faster. Think of millions of different media images you are bombarded with every day. It's as important now to be able to read and make sense of those images as it has been to be able to read ordinary text.
In the 1880s, cycling became a major phenomenon in Europe.
Cycling became a major phenomena in Europe.
Inflation rose by 2% over this time last year.
We've been doing research in that area for probably over 25 years.
We can do research on the area which is important for every person.
Let's see if the technology is going to cooperate for this presentation.
Let's see the technology to cooperate for the presentation.
Soil erosion can be caused by increased rainfall and changes in plant growth.
Can be increased through the night growth which can be changed through night.
There will be no classes scheduled during exam week.
There will be no class scheduled during the exam week.
We have very little actual documentation of it.
We have very action documentation which is important for every person.
The final exam will test material from all chapters covered in class this term.
The final exam with text material will cover from all chapters.
Students are not allowed to take journals out of the library.
Students are not allowed to take journals out of library.
The area of Canada is more than 3.8 million square miles.
The area of Canada is according to 3.5 million miles. This picture shows the information about state and state equivalents that spend the most percent. This picture shows the information about states and state equivalents that spend the most per student, and several categories have been mentioned in this picture such as New York, New Jersey, District of Columbia. The values are given from $14 to $11. Firstly, the highest value can be noticed in the case of New Jersey, which is approximately $30,800. On the other hand, the lowest value can be noticed in the case of New York, which is approximately $14,119. Moreover, there are many changing trends in this picture. Overall, this picture is the perfect example of states and state equivalents that spend the most per student. This line graph shows information about income by age and gender in the UK, and several categories have been mentioned in this picture, such as 20 to 40. This line graph shows the information about income by age and gender in the UK, and several categories have been mentioned in this chart, such as age 20 to 24, 25 to 29. The values are given from 5,000 to 30,000. Firstly, the highest value can be noticed in the case of 25 to 29, which is approximately 10,000. On the other hand, the lowest value can be noticed in the case of 30 age, which is approximately 25,000. Moreover, there are many changing trends in this picture. Overall, this graph is the perfect example of income by age and gender in the UK. This bar graph shows the information about This bar graph shows the information about where international companies have their European headquarters, and several categories have been mentioned in this graph, such as 100, 125 to 150. The values are given from 100 to 250. Firstly, the highest value can be noticed in the case of European headquarters, which is approximately 250. On the other hand, the lowest value can be noticed in the case of international companies, which is approximately 150. Moreover, there are many changing trends in this graph. Overall, this graph is the perfect example of where international companies have their European headquarters. Is line graph, bar graph. This bar graph shows the information about percentage of households with selected consumer, and several categories have been mentioned in this graph such as telephone, microwave, CD player. The values are given from 0 to 100%. Firstly, the highest value can be noticed in the case of 2007, which is approximately 80%. On the other hand, the lowest value can be noticed in the case of 2001, which is approximately 40%. Moreover, there are many changing trends in this graph. Overall, this graph is the perfect example of percentage of households with selected consumer durables in UK. This bar graph shows perception, precip- precipitation. This bar graph shows the information about average temperature, and several categories have been mentioned in this graph such as January, February, March, April. The values are given from 0 to 400. Firstly, the highest value can be noticed in the case of October, which is approximately 40%. On the other hand, the lowest value can be noticed in the case of January, which is approximately 10%. Moreover, there are many changing trends in this graph. Overall, this graph is the perfect example of average temperature.
Now, economists calculate, and it's a back-of-the-envelope calculation, that removing all immigration controls would double the size of the world economy. And even a small relaxation of immigration controls would lead to disproportionately big gains. Now, from an ethical point of view, it's hard to argue against a policy that would do so much to help people who are much poorer than ourselves. The famous RAND study reckons that the typical immigrant who arrives in the US ends up $20,000 a year better off. And it's not just the migrants themselves who gain, it's the countries that they come from. Already, the migrants working from poor countries, working in rich countries, send home around $200 billion a year through formal channels, and perhaps twice that through informal channels. And that compares to the mere $100 billion that Western governments give in aid. And those remittances, they're not wasted on weapons, they're not siphoned off into Swiss bank accounts. They go straight into the pockets of local people. They pay for food, they pay for clean medicine, clean water, they pay for medicines. They help keep kids in school. They help start up new businesses.
The topic of the lecture is about immigration. Firstly, the speaker was talking about world economy as well as ethical points and so much to help people. He also talked about ends up $20. On the other hand, he explained the relationship between working countries as well as $100 people dollars and local people. He gave more examples on medicines. Overall, the speaker provides brief information about SCID in schools.
Coming out of the 19th century with all that happened, and so quickly, some of these ideas, some of these theories, like thermodynamics and kinetic theory, they didn't blend the way they should have. Thermodynamics has its roots in matter, how material things respond to heat and temperature and so forth. The laws of thermodynamics were thought to be absolute. Now take kinetic theory. If matter consists of atoms in random motion, and that's what matter is, then you open up the possibility that there will be fluctuations in samples of matter such that the laws of thermodynamics can momentarily be violated. Are the laws of thermodynamics valid? Absolute. Are they obeyed statistically? On average, they're obeyed, but they can be violated during unusual times, all right?
The topic of the lecture is about lecture outline. Firstly, the speaker was talking about interplay of physical theories as well as thermodynamics and material response to heat. He also talked about roots in matter as well as temperature. On the other hand, he gave more examples on kinetic energy as well as atoms in random motion. He gave more examples on random motion as well as fluctuations and average the obey. Overall, the speaker provides brief information about unusual time.
Does mathematics or linguistics cover the study of the relationships between numbers?
What's the word for the fourth basic arithmetical operation? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and
Addition.
a jar contains 8 black marbles and 2 white marbles. If I select one marble at random, what colour is it most likely to be?
Black. Black.
What is formed when snow melts?
Water.
What building on campus can you borrow books from?
Library.
A group of 3 university teachers are discussing their university's open day.
Are you both coming to the university's open day?
Yes, of course I'm coming. We're all expected to, aren't we?
Yes. Why do you ask? Aren't you coming?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to be here. But to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure why we're having one. We don't really need to attract more students. We have a good reputation as one of the best universities in the country, and this is reflected in the high number of applications we receive from gifted students, both from here and from overseas. As it is, we already have to turn so many strong applicants away. It seems to me that by trying to increase the demand to study here, all we're going to do is disappoint more and more students.
I admit that could be one of the effects, but I understand why we're having an open day. Prospective students are looking to find out whether or not we're going to be a good fit for them. They want to get a feel for what we can offer them. Even if they're sure they want to enrol, it helps us to manage expectations better if they have some idea of what it's like to study here.
That's true, Eleanor. But I also think there's another reason for doing it. Our high reputation leads some young people to think they aren't good enough to study here, and so they don't bother applying. Typically, they're from a state school background and don't always have the self-confidence that is instilled in students from private schools. We have to show them that people from all backgrounds can be successful here if they have the talent.
Yeah, I can see how recruiting applicants from a range of backgrounds will lead to a more diverse student community here. I know we've sometimes been accused by our critics, unfairly in my opinion, of being kind of an elitist institution, so this is probably a good thing. In fact, in my classes, I've had a number of students from more modest backgrounds who performed to a very high standard.
The university has recruited a number of first-year student volunteers who'll be there to welcome visitors and show them around. They'll try to reflect the university's move towards greater diversity. I know those chosen from our department have been properly briefed. They're a good lot and we can depend on them. I only hope that the other departments have made their choices with this in mind.
Yes. As well as showing them around, they'll also sit with them over coffee and try to answer any questions that come up. I'm pleased that they've been encouraged to be completely honest with their answers, rather than just try and paint a perfect picture of the university, because I'm sure prospective students would be able to recognise a sales pitch if they heard it.
This group discussion is about University Open Day, where all the three speakers share their arguments and viewpoints with each other. Firstly, the speaker one started the conversation with expecting too much as well as higher expectations and state school. He also talked about private school as well as all background successful here. On the other hand, the speaker two started the conversation with able to recognize as well as not sure. They both argued each other on attract more students as well as overseas and strong applicants. They share bit of details about accused as well as modest background and enjoying coffee. Then the speaker three started the conversation with honest with answers as well as prospective students. They shared bit of information about offer students as well as manage better. He gave more examples on first year students as well as towards greater diversity and other departments. Overall, all the three speakers shared their opinions on University Open Day with their supportive details. It was a healthy conversation.
A group of 3 students are discussing their job search.
I'm so glad my day's over. I've been looking at screens all day, writing script. My eyes hurt. My brain feels fried.
Tell me about it. I've been on my laptop putting the finishing touches on my term paper for my contemporary American literature course, and I'm exhausted. Oh, yeah, and I still haven't heard back from any of the jobs I've applied to, so I'm going to have to find some time somewhere to work on more job apps. Have you two been applying anywhere?
Yeah, a bunch. The graphic design space seems really competitive right now. Most companies want years of experience. It's like, how do you get experience if nobody wants to hire you for it? Everyone in my department is having similar struggles. Some have got work, some haven't. Anyway, I talked to one of my professors, and she suggests not focusing only on finding full-time work. She said I should look to snag some freelance gigs to build my portfolio. So that's what I'm currently doing.
Sounds like a good idea. You gotta show initiative. Have you both been checking out the Career Center resources? They offer lots of workshops for students. Everything from tips on resume writing to mock interviews.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot there was a career centre on campus. I've just been so busy writing, reading, and writing more for my classes, and trying to apply for jobs in between. I can't believe I didn't think to do that. I'll have to check it out before it gets too late and I graduate. How about you? People with computer science degrees must be in high demand. Are all the tech giants fighting over you?
Not quite. But there have been some interesting calls. The interview process can be brutal, though. Last week, I had one where they asked me to code live on the spot. Talk about pressure. So weird to have people looking at you while you're doing that on a video call. But yeah, the tech world is booming, that's for sure. But you both shouldn't sell yourself short. There are definitely jobs for writers out there. They may not pay much, but how bad do you need the money right now? Your parents are rich. They can support you while you work on your first novel.
They might not be too thrilled about that idea, but yeah, maybe if I get a low-paying job that isn't too stressful, I can spend my time outside of work writing my first book. It would be even better if that were a remote job. No commute and no boss looking over my shoulder could really make it easy to find the time to write.
See, there you go. The job market might be tough, but with some creativity and effort, we can all find something that fits our skills and interests.
This group discussion is about job search, where all the three speakers share their arguments and viewpoints with each other. Firstly, the speaker one started the conversation with looking at screen as well as eyes hurt and brain feel fried. He also talked about talking to professor as well as looks to snacks and interview professors. He also then the speaker two started the conversation with talked about pressure as well as creativity and efforts. He also talked about exhausted as well as time to work on. They both argued each other on more jobs applications and writing for classes. They gave more examples on graduate as well as computer science, high demand and low pay jobs. Then the speaker three participated in the conversation and talked about company want years experience as well as checking career center. They both argued each other on tips of mark interviews and they not pay much. They shared a bit of information about parents are rich as well as write my first book. Overall, all the three speakers shared their opinions on job research with their supporting details. It was a healthy conversation. I chose to study on a
You chose to study on a
political
politics
course,
course,
but I
but you have
have changed
changed
my
your
mind.
mind.
I think a
You think
history
a
course might
history
be
course
better,
might
but
be
I am
better,
not sure
but you're not sure what the
the
course includes. What do you say to your teacher to get some advice?
Switch up to change. Hello teacher, very good evening. This is Jennifer. I hope you are doing well. As you know, we met yesterday to discuss about I chose to study on political course, but I have changed my mind. I think that we should consider it on. I think a history course might be better, but I am not sure that the course includes. So if you don't mind, can we please meet today to discuss about the course which I want to change? It will be really helpful. Thanks for your understanding. So let me know your views on it. I bought a car last week. I want to
You
start
bought a car
driving it to
last
school,
week.
but I need to
You
buy
want
a
to start
parking
driving it
pass.
to school, but you
I
need
know
to
my
buy a
friend
parking
drives their car
pass.
and parks on
You know
campus.
your
I
friend
decide
drives
to
their
ask
car and
my
parks
friend
on
where
campus.
I can get a
You
parking
decide to
pass,
ask your
how
friend
much it
where you
is,
can
and
get a
where you
parking
should
pass, how much it
where
is,
I should
and where you
park.
should park. What do you say?
Hello, friend. Very good evening. This is Jennifer. I hope you are doing well. As you know, we met yesterday to discuss about I bought a car last week. I want to start driving it to school, but I need to buy a parking pass. So, if you don't mind, can we please meet me today to discuss about? I know my friend drives their car and parks on campus. I decide to ask my friend where I can get a parking pass. It will be really helpful. Thanks for your understanding and let me know your views on it. He's the man who has changed the world. Kind of man, huh? He's the Simultaneously may be a mild-mannered academic who live modestly in Boston, but as the inventor of the World Wide Web is also revolutionary. Yes, sir. Burners. Yes, he was the inventor. Mm. It's since the web went global 20 years ago, the way we shop, listen to music, and everything has been transformed. There are implications of political lectures. So, since the web went global 20 years ago, the way we shop, listen to and transform their implication of politics like economics, even tourism, because individuals can implications of politics and economics. Scientist Oxford who built this computer for relatively spare parts. सर तेरी मुझे समझ नहीं लग रही
Sir Tim Berners-Lee, ठीक है, was inventor of the space. So World Wide Web देखी तुसी यहाँ space and World Wide Web गलत लिखा है, www कैपिटल से लिखे सारे छोटे भाई ठीक करूँ. ओके भैया ठीक है सर ठीक है कॉन्टैक्ट really करा
सर ये लाइन ना मतलब कि थे कामली गल की थी फिर थे बिकॉज आ गया ना तो गलत ना आ चुका
because cut के for which an individual can have the same disability.
to the division he was banned from one of the same scientists from Oxford. As much as technology, but how far we can say by so the computer scientist from Oxford was banned from one of the university.
Let's very how but last it was an imaginary concept that he realized. Taking time. Like it's वैसे which the way we shop listen to music has been transformed. कितने पास आ गए हैं. It is apparent that their applications ठीक है but लगा के but time देखो कितना हट कर रहा है. बस 3 minutes है कि लिख सकते हो. and but लगा के ऑनलाइन देखो. line family रहेगी कि the way we shop है ना छोटी लड़की.
Listen to music. The music has been transformed.
स्पेलिंग चेक कर लो स्पेलिंग स्पेस सारी चीज चेक कर लो
As for economics, economists in the sector forecasting is essentially key function and to do the job they don't perfect. Economic. Science. And they have assumptions about how an accounting works and client with focused on the difference in use economies of calculating data. And so the belonging
Actually, both can be done. मतलब वैसे जिथे एक बंदा रहिंदा है अपनी नेटिव प्लेस से ओदा उस आस-पास दी सोसाइटी दा सिटी दा उस दी डेवलपमेंट दा की असर पैंदा ओदी ग्रोथ उपर ठीक है डिफाइन बाय द प्लेस जिथे वो रहिंदे ने ओदा ग्रोथ दा की फर्क पैंदा ऑब्वियसली अंडर डेवलप्ड एरिया च रहिंदे रहिंदे बैकवर्ड लोग की सोच हैगी प्रोडक्टिविटी लॉस हो जाएगी सक्सेसफुल
सर ये मतलब कितना पॉजिटिव जाऊगा कि नेगेटिव जाऊगा
आई साਡਾ ओपिनियन ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਦੋ ਕਿ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਉਂ ਇੱਕ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦਾ ਡਿਪੈਂਡ ਕਰਦਾ ਵਾਈ growth of a person depends on the area is that ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਅਸਰ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਫੈਸਿਲਿਟੀਜ਼ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ ਗਰੋਥ ਦੇ ਚਾਂਸਸ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਰੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਉੱਪਰ ਆਏਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਈ ਅਗਰੀ ਕਰਦੇ modernization links on your personal development.
People lives it
Yeah, the influence of the influence of the influence of an area on our success.
on
Our success. Like has always been one of the इलाके से पता करना है हमारे इसके ऊपर होगा
So it looks like people living in countryside areas have less facilities.
No, let's say it is therefore there are growth chances ਜਿਹੜੇ future opportunities ਨਹੀਂ ਲੋਕ ਨਾਲ ਪੂਰਨਗੇ
Has
ਹੈ ਭਾਈ ਨਾ people की कमी नहीं है बाकी चिन्ना people जरा होती है
facilities.
ना समझ लगे तो लेकिन these are its reasons ठीक है supported by its reasons कटना supported by logic
These demerits.
Demerits लिखोगे then.
So reasons theory.
Reason लिखोगे demerit लिखोगे. The reason of this trend is that trend लिखोगे ना. Another reason लिखो demerits से.
In sir मैं इत्थे पूछ रही हूँ internal language.
Yeah. कहते बेसिकली सुना कि अफेक्ट किਵੇਂ करदा ना ਤੁਸੀਂ ऐसे लूज थोड़ा अते क्या था ਤੁਸੀਂ individual living poor areas have less opportunities that an area also अते it lose cut on है ना अपनी जगह लिखो the place of upbringing UP bringing कटेगा BRI also impacts IMPACPS हाँ वो आ गया सारा productivity ठीक है intelligence control self confidence consistency right
सर मैं इत्थे पूछ रही हूँ कि थोड़ा in turn these demerits.
नहीं demerits लिखा गया in turn all these factors So why people's lives are defined by the place where they grew up. Defined by the place where they grew up.
Where they
grew up. लिखी ना पहली लाइन grew up
grew up.
अरेंज स्पेलिंग कर लो स्पेलिंग होती है people's ने क्या पोस्ट ऑफिस को where is spelling अरे ऐसे वेरिटी मेरिट में रीजन फैक्टर का ऐसे नेक्स्ट लिखो लोग का माइंडसेट एटीट्यूड बिहेवियर भी चेंज होता है लोग आसपास की सोसाइटी में करते हैं कम्युनिटीज करके
Introductions. Also put impacts on. Definitely, it also put impacts on individuals' behavior because of the environment.
On an individuals on puts an impact. As puts it also has an impact on them. Has an impact on person's mindset, positive mindset, behavior, attitude. एग्जांपल बना दो जिस तरह की जे आसपास ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਬੜੇ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਮਾਈਂਡਸੈਟ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਗਰੋਥ ਓਰੀਐਂਟਡ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਦਾ ਅਸਰ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਆ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਫਰੈਂਡ ਸਰਕਲ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂ ਲਾਈਕ ਦੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ mistakes anyway. Okay, anyway, here. Average will be 10, 11 days.
सर वो कितना लिखांगे कि जेडे मतलब पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट
By their communities, by their local communities. Local communities.
सर लिखेंगे विल बी एनवायरनमेंट करके बनाते मतलब कि इंपैक्ट पिंदो कितना लिखांगे
Environment करके ना कैसे चाहिए environment बेसिकली लोकल सोसाइटी करके पैंदा है उनका टाइम वो लगा फटाफट लिखो कि सेंस ऑफ रिस्पांसिबिलिटी आंदी है ठीक है ना ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ इट आल्सो ठीक है the area of the native area also brings a sense of responsibility brings a sense of responsibility and discipline towards discipline लिखो DI discipline spelling DISCI DISCI S तो बस CI ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ DIPLIN sense of towards our life our goals in life our goals in life ठीक है और यार अभी it catalyzes long term growth and progress only को it catalyzes only है कंक्लूजन क्या है ठीक है ना 2 मिनट बचे कंक्लूजन लिख लो बराबर
some challenges exist
substantial
serene and clearly outweigh the
नहीं
disadvantages
disadvantage exist ਇੱਥੇ ਫਾਰੀ ਚੀਜ਼ को फुल चुप लाओ कौन सी निकल आएंगे आंसर दैट कैप्टन करो Which exists can is the common चलो लैंड ते वो भी चल देती थी और लैंड की मेजर प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर ही बचना टाइम देने में तो this मेरा बड़ा एक्सपेरिमेंट
Learning to write while in college means learning how to work with the field. For others, in time, in this has been only now.
काम की teman salah dengan cerita malah video gimana cái gì còn này em đọc đến này em bắt tiền được trả được vào chứ gì nữa đấy đâu tao đã nói vào tại như mình nhưng mà đợi nó nữa em đọc lại chứ kiểu như như cái gì nó cũng được gọi là như cái có tên cái họ sẽ nó sẽ được ừ ừ ừ ừ ừ mình lấy cái nó xong rồi có cái là số cái technology that okay, but that's going to get good speed. Get to be road actually the smart point, smart getting and get good quality, seeing quality. We like to shape and see. That's good. The quality right will be better. So we are going to make sure about tôi thấy được cái công này đối với những cái đó không tin nói gì là những cái tin mình vào xong mình nói gì là những cái đồ nó bảo là được này in that mình nói là mình sẽ the first one is to and the pictures can be even more than 90% natural color. Oh, you have a permission to lecture? Yes. Why do you open on it? Mobile phone. So you can find enforcement. Situation has engaged. Challenges in case industry. Changed such a language and created chance for people eligibility the police and recognizes its automatically to be dangerous in context that can lead to space from helping force even it's to be realized. Because I do watch grew of the pain and
For the purposes of our course, the way that I think about it, I guess the way I want you to think about it, is generally just the conditions in which a species can survive and reproduce. And those conditions, or the niche, could be determined by water economy, which I'll talk about. That is, the ability of a species to regulate its body water. Its tolerance for temperatures. We saw the Arctic fox out there, frigid cold, and its tolerance for colder temperatures. Its body size, certainly its diet and its circadian and circannual rhythms, its daily behaviour activity, its seasonal activity, rhythm of timing, daily circadian and seasonal. Its habitat use, so how it uses the habitat available to it, and of course its behaviour. These are all factors that affect a species, how an animal can survive and reproduce.
Explain again. So, explain the significance. Special and purposes, of course, need to be the models of Anatoly Autonomous and temperatures as well as the key aspects of a calculating with the identity is the way to explain the key role of our behavior. Last thing is first describe.
Spring is sprung. I guess the mozzies will not be far behind. Why do they bite us?
Well, they basically, it's only the female mosquitoes that bite, and the female needs that hit of protein to develop her eggs. So male mosquitoes and female mosquitoes can survive on plant juices and nectars and things like that. But when it comes time to lay some eggs, the female really needs that hit of protein.
There is an allegation that they like some humans better than others. Do you go along with that?
Yeah, look, there's 1,000 theories as to why one person might be more attractive than others. But at the end of the day, it's the mosquitoes are attracted to carbon dioxide and heat, some visual cues, and also the odours associated with our skin, and that's what really sort of makes them hone in on us.
Visual clues?
Yeah, sometimes colour can attract mosquitoes, but really the primary one is the carbon dioxide, and all the hot air we breathe out sure attracts the mosquitoes.
But we've all got carbon dioxide, so on that theory, every human is as attractive as every other
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, one of the things that really confuses the issue is that individuals react differently to the mosquito bites as well. So that when the mosquito feeds and injects the saliva, we have an allergic reaction, and like all allergies, people react differently. So, for instance, you and I could be bitten by a couple of mosquitoes here in the studio, and I might not have any reaction at all, but you might come up in some big red lumps, and it seems as though you're being more attracted by mosquitoes.
Yeah, bitten more than you are. Politicians talk all the time about democracy. Today,
For 4 centuries after the Viking decline, the people of the Shetland Islands off the north coast of Scotland continued to sell their goods through the North European Hanseatic League. The Hanse merchants bought shiploads of salted fish, and in return the islanders got cash, grain, cloth and other goods. This lasted until the Act of Union between Scotland and England in 1707. This act prohibited the Hanse merchants from trading with Scotland. Consequently, Shetland went into an economic depression. The independent farmers of Shetland had to sell their land and were then obligated to pay rent, eventually becoming serfs.
One of the things that people have said about agriculture is that on the whole it's more labour intensive than hunting and gathering. And that's one of the reasons why people have looked to explanations which you might say are kind of coercive factors, that people have been forced into agriculture because they had no alternative. That is ultimately what may happen. But at the very beginning, it could be that agriculture was developed because people wanted special status foods for feasting, that it was actually a social need. I mean, and how much of what we do in our lives is generated by competition with others, and a lot of that is powered by desire for new things, new statuses, new whatever it might be, respect, recognition, also are important. And in small-scale societies, a lot of those sorts of factors are generated by the ability to, for instance, throw feasts. One possibility is that some of these foods that were being grown were actually intended specially as feasting foods.
So what is wildlife ecology? Well, traditionally, I guess going back to the 1800s and the early 1900s, wildlife ecology was really about the management, or was really wildlife management. And it was about managing species that had economic value or that people hunted. So the people who we consider to be the pioneers of wildlife ecology, folks like Aldo Leopold, really came about at a time when it was all about management. And it was all about managing hunted species. And that's still a part of wildlife ecology. We can't really ignore that. But today, wildlife ecology has become so much more than simply managing hunted species. And really, today, it's about studying the incredibly complex We were talking again about water efficiency and its importance in determining a niche, the species niche. The challenges of conserving water in relation to body size. And what I'd said was that a smaller bodied species
And people tend to think of the colonization of the Americas by white Europeans as the biggest wave of migration in history. But it's actually dwarfed by what's happening nowadays. Every year, over 10 million people move from the Chinese countryside to Chinese cities. That's 300 million people in the past 30 years. Across the world, people are moving from rural areas to urban areas. This year, for the first time ever, half of humanity lives in the city. Migration is inevitable. It's both a consequence of development and a driver of it. And compared with the vast movement of people within national borders, the numbers crossing them seem relatively few. In fact, the United Nations counts a mere 200 million international migrants worldwide. That's less than 3% of the global population.
Same with practices which are familiar, but which have a morally neutral appearance. So, we know that certain things are happening, we just don't know the details of them well enough to know that the practice in it is not a neutral practice, but has certain morally relevant properties. For example, we're all familiar with search engines, and we know that they employ certain algorithms, and we just assume that these algorithms in a neutral way bring us the sites with the most hits. They will bring us the top 10 or top 20 of relevant sites when we enter the keywords.
The Indonesian island of Sumatra is home to the country's fourth largest city, Medan, a bustling commercial hub that's also a jumping-off point for those who want to see one of the world's richest, yet least known forests, the Loser ecosystem in the north of the island, mostly in the province of Aceh. And the quickest way to see Loser is by air. Mike Griffiths is a former oil company executive turned conservationist who sees Loser as his second home. And he heads the conservation group, the Loser International Foundation. He rattles off the names of volcanoes, rivers, and other landmarks as our plane climbs from Medan over the dense green.
Our director's experience of the play, Shakespeare, and theatre in general is second to none amongst drama school practitioners. The first week of the rehearsal process was spent in discussion of the background and subtext of each character, where they came from, their family, their social status. We then put each character into something called hot seating, which I'm sure you're familiar with. This is a process in which every other actor was able to ask our character a question and we answer it from our character's point of view.
We're here to remind you of the most important, essential, and believe it or not, common sense parts of effective selling. Unfortunately, common sense is not always common practice. The basics of sales have been forgotten under a mountain of new ideas and information that were fed in books, courses, and sales conferences.
They've been struggling since last year to make their servers pay.
The placement test for mathematics and statistics is offered every semester.
Observers waited nervously and with bated breath for the concert.
टेस्ट होया ही क्या माउस ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ
Sir, repeat sentences नहीं करना.
हाँ ਤੇ ਬਸ ਥੋੜਾ ਐਸੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਘਬਰਾਹਟ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ इसलिए पॉइंट्स ਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ 네ਗੇਟਿਵ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਐਸੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਕੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਐਂਜ਼ਾਈਟੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਐਸੇ ਮੈਂ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗ ਕਰਤੀ ਸੀ